talking about all things self-care and how I use toiletries and techniques to help me as someone who not only wants to feel clean and as well looked after as I can, given I'm a low maintenance woman, and I'll talk about that as we go on, but I also want to be able to cope with those times when I just can't cope so well with just looking after myself top to bottom. So I'm going to start top to bottom, and I hope this all makes sense. I have long curly hair. It comes down nearly to my belly button when it's loose. It's very thick, and I don't have great strength in my wrists and my fingers generally, so I tend to wash my hair once a week. I washed it last night, and something that I find is really helpful to help me to cope with that volume and curliness of hair is to leave a little bit of conditioner in my hair when I rinse it through. So I tend to put it in a couple of plaits when it's wringing down with the water, and just rinse it through until I can squeeze all the conditioner out. Then I know that there'll be a little bit left in the plaits. It just means that when I come then to detangle, I don't have to put so much effort in, because I can't with these wrists. I also use a brush that's made for afro hair, so it's got big broad prongs on it, and I won't show you it because otherwise you'll think I'm trying to advertise something, and I'm not. But it's really helpful for just me coping with the brushing and the detangling of my hair, which if you've got fibro and you've got long hair or just anything, you just want to make life as easy as possible, when you've got these pain issues to deal with. So another thing I do to reduce the amount of effort I have to make in sorting out my hair is, once it's dried through, and it's still quite wet actually, as I say, I washed it last night, I'll leave it to dry in this sort of style. It's sort of coiled up in my hair, on my head. Once it's dry, I'll kind of put it into a couple of plaits, and I'll leave it for the rest of the week, and I don't care how tatty it looks towards the end of the week, because it's locked down and who cares. And a lot of the time in the winter I will wear a hat anyway when I go out into polite society. It just means that I have to do less with my hair, and that means having to do less with these poor old hands and wrists. Because there are times when just detangling my hair pulls at my neck, my shoulders. I've been in this bathroom some nights on the hair wash night, and I've just been like crying out, Lord help me, because I can't detangle this hair, and I don't want to have short hair or anything, so I've got to deal with it. So let's move on to the next thing. So that's the face. And I'll start with this area, my teeth. For the last 5 to 8 years I've been using sensitive toothpaste anyway, but in the last 2 or 3 months it's become critical that I use sensitive toothpaste. I think I've talked about my tooth issues, and I know other people with fibro have talked about sensitivity with their teeth. So I will sometimes take the sensitive toothpaste and actually place it directly onto my gum line, just to try to ease the sensitivity that I experience from just eating and sometimes cold or wind. So that's another thing that I find is really helpful, is to always use sensitive toothpaste. So let's now move on to the face. I haven't actually cleansed my face today, so I thought I would do it with you, and kind of almost get ready with me type thing. Now, looking after myself is important, because that's just the way it is. I hear people say that they don't use anything in the morning except for water to cleanse their face. I would argue the toss with that. I think it's impossible to cleanse anything simply with water. Water can dehydrate, but it cannot cleanse. And you think, well, I've just been in my bed all night. Well, our bodies secrete things, and our cell turnover is happening in our sleep. And so in the morning, I don't use any water, but I will use a couple of cellulose sponges so I can at least wash these again. And when it comes to wash day, this bag will be full of these dirty things. So at least I'm hoping that I'm reducing my footprint. So there's these. Now, I don't like plastics. I've already mentioned in other videos about how I feel I possibly have contaminated my body already with the use of plastics and other toxins getting into my body. So as soon as I'm able, and where possible, I obviously can't do it always, but I will take my products and I will decant them into these glass bottles. I have this one for my rose toner. This is what I use in the morning as my cleanser. I'm just going to do this really quickly because obviously we don't have all day, so they're nice and soaked. These puffs are ever slightly exfoliating. They are soft and mild, but I won't use them on a baby because they do have an exfoliating action, which I like. The rose tonic that I use, I won't tell you the brand. I've got, I think, about 5 ingredients, mostly glycerin and rose water. And I'm showing you exactly how I cleanse my face. And the technique is pretty much the same morning and night. I go right down onto my neck and my throat. And I won't show you the content of these pads afterwards, but I can assure you that my skin has become dirty overnight. I haven't left the house. Obviously not wearing any makeup. But my skin has, at least the products that I used last night, which need to be removed so that I can put new products on. I always do this, always go behind my ears, into my ears, because those get really dirty. I always take the cleanser into my hairline. Okay, so that's my skin cleansed. I can put those in the bag in a minute. Don't do this every morning, but I thought I would share it with you because it's a nice step. I do use these cotton pads, but before you start saying, oh, well, you know, shouldn't you be using the cellulose ones? I don't for this product I'm about to share with you, purely because it stains abominably. What I've got here is homemade green tea tonic. I've literally just brewed 1 organic Japanese green tea bag, and I'm using this cotton pad, as I say, because it will stain the pads otherwise. It's really nice and fresh, and it's full of antioxidants. I only use it about 2 or 3 times a week, because of course I can't just have that sitting up in the bathroom. It's an organic thing, it will go off. Mouldy, I suppose. What I do when I use these cotton pads is I put them on my compost heap. So zero impact on the planet from my consumer end. I always do this, as I say, I always take product right down onto my throat. And it makes me laugh sometimes when I see people on YouTube and they kind of end here. I think, what about the rest of your face? This is important for me. I do this when I'm well, because when I'm not well, I'm not able to cleanse. So at least I know the rest of the time I've been looking after my face, my skin. I think I'm low maintenance, but I do use a good number of products, many of which I try to make myself, like that green tea tonic. So I'm cleansed and I feel clean. The next thing obviously would be some sort of moisturisation. I hate that word, but I wanted to chuck it in. Moisturiser. And I do a couple of steps, even more at night actually. I just wanted to give you an idea of the sorts of things I use to feel like I'm taking care of myself. This is a niacinamide serum. You noticed I put it into my palm, not my fingers. I have more control if I use the whole of my hand. I can spread it quickly. My fingers are the weakest part of my hands, so why would I just use my hands? My fingers, sorry. So that goes in quite quickly, so not much slip. At night I use a cleansing balm. I'll just quickly show it to you. It's in a glass jar, I make it myself. 3 ingredients. Just try to show you a tiny bit of it. It's kind of texture that it is. My hands are clean, so I'll put that back in. and that has a lot of slip, and I can really give myself a good massage, because sometimes having fibro, I feel bloated, might be some lymph that's failing to flow through. So I need to give my face a bit of a massage. You can do that when you use something that has adequate slip. That serum didn't. So again, my moisturiser with SPF into the centre of my hand. Then I've got more control over it. Spread it widely and quickly over my face, up my throat, right up to my hairline, and my ears. Everything that I put on my face, I put on my lips as well. I'll come to that in a moment. So broad spread. Much of a massage as my poor little fingers can do. I do have a gua sha stone. I don't use it very often. I haven't had it very long either. But again, even though that's mechanised massage, I still sometimes find it a struggle to use that. So I don't look like I'm very elegant when I do my skincare, but what I'm doing, if you could be here in person, you'd see that I'm doing these long wide strokes. Just mean I've been quite firm with my skin. What I'm wanting to do is to encourage the lymph, encourage my muscles also to get active and be active. I like this particular SPF because it doesn't sting my eye, and a lot of them do. Right, and whatever excess is left on the back of my hands. I talked about my lips. I don't know if it's because of the amitriptyline, but my lips are even more dry these days than they have been in the past. This is actually a nighttime sleep mask on my lips. I want to show it to you. It's so unctuous. I use that at night, but I'll put it on now. Again, just sort of massage that in, and then what we women tend to do, rub our lips together. I have lip balm almost in every room in the house. This is one I would probably have used if I hadn't been filming. Strange shape, but anyway. So whilst my SPF is going to work, I'll show you some other things that I find I really need as a fibro sufferer that help prevent pain and what have you. Periods. I'm not going to show you the brand, but I have to use these applicator tampons. They are really slippery and they go in really easily. Cardboard jars against my flesh and hurts. These ones do not. See how fibro impacts everything. Still talking things from the nether regions. I hope you don't mind. I cannot be without these moist toilet wipes. So when I've been to the loo, with the addition of normal toilet paper, I will use these moist wipes again because I can just get so sore. Everything hurts to a degree. So I find that having moist toilet wipes always available makes going to the loo just that little bit more pleasant. What else can I show you that I do to make my self-care as caring as I possibly can, given that I have fibro? Well, I think I mentioned this in my first film actually, that I had recently purchased a blusher from Chantecaille, which is a clean beauty brand. I'm a low maintenance woman. I don't do anything with my hair. I've just explained to you the kind of thing I would do. Leave my plaits in for nearly a week. I don't wear concealer or foundation. I would struggle to find the right shade. I don't go shopping, so trying to find the right shade for me online would be absolutely absurd. My skin is not bad anyway. I don't have any dark circles. I have slight bagginess. But I'm 49 years old, so what can I expect from that? So I don't use anything like base, but because my skin is quite sort of flat, one thing I do like is a bit of blusher. And I still haven't left enough time, but I like this one. You can see just a little bit of pink to make me feel like my skin has got some, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the right word, I can't. I don't even know you can see that. I can't see it. I'll probably look in the mirror later and think, oh my gosh. Anyway, that's kind of how I pat it on. I really am so very low maintenance. Sorry if anyone out there is really into their makeup and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. If I were doing this in front of the mirror, what I would hope to see is that there's a little bit of pink there, such as what happens when I go for a walk and it's cold and my skin looks more lively, so there is more of a landscape of my face rather than just a flat terrain. I think that's the best way of explaining it. Recently I saw a woman on YouTube talking about very minimal makeup for very minimal low maintenance people. I don't know if she used the word low maintenance, but that's what I'm going with because that's what I consider myself to be. She talked about this eyeshadow, which cost a fortune, so I'm not going there. But just on those days when I feel as though I really want to just, I don't know, look after myself or be presentable. If I go into an interview, for example, I might want to. I've made this. It's a mock-up of the product that she talked about. It's this tiny bit of sort of gloss. Kind of, she isn't she? I like it. Like I say, I'm not really into makeup, but this just makes me feel like I'm a human being, like I've maybe made some effort. And basically what I did was take some castor oil and put a bit of highlighter in it. Highlighter which I bought about 5 years ago and it's sitting in my cupboard. I might show you. Oh, tell you what I do have. So I put that on. You can see that. I'm really impressed that I, was able to make an eyeshadow out of things I already had in my cupboard. I do have this bronzer. And you might think, well, why have you got bronzer? But women of colour do wear bronzer. You can see it's almost intact. It's because I rarely use it, but I've got it so that if I have to do anything special, I don't just turn up with my clean face, which is no offence to anyone, but sometimes you want to put a bit more effort in, don't you? So another thing that I do is I don't use SLSs if I can help it, sodium lauryl sulfates, in my body wash. And I don't use shower gel every night either because my skin is so dry. I've talked about how amitriptyline has dried out my eyes and has damaged my vision to a good degree. I think it's done a similar thing to my skin, my body skin, my arms and my legs are hideously dry sometimes, and I use a lovely moisturiser that again doesn't have any sulfates or parabens in. It's actually aimed at children and I love it. Another thing I do is don't use shower gel every night. I use it every other night, and the nights in between I will use an oil because oil does lift oil and you can then just wash it away. So I could never just use water because, as I said at the beginning of the film, I don't actually believe that water on its own cleanses. Water on its own can strip out oils and lift away some sweat and what have you, but it's not a cleanser. You try washing your hands with just water and then you use a wipe or something and you'll soon see. So that's another thing I do so that my body doesn't feel entirely dried out. And there's one last thing I want to mention, I forgot to mention it earlier. Along with a sensitive toothpaste, I use a child's toothbrush because I find that an adult's toothbrush really hurts my mouth. For a fibro sufferer, I would say if you've got tooth sensitivity, of course use sensitive toothpaste, but why not try a toothbrush that's aimed at little mouths and is far softer but still will do the job of cleaning your teeth. So this video is already a lot longer than I would want it to be, but obviously we've kind of done this in real time. So just a few things that I use and may be useful to you. If there's anything else that you can think of, please do comment, because life is hard enough, and if we can share best practice and our self-care tips. I can't do this obviously when I'm ill. When I'm really having an episode, I can't cleanse, I can't brush my teeth, I'm fit for nothing. So it's important to me that while I'm well, I can almost sort of like put some money in the bank in my skincare, if you like, so that I can, not feel as bad when I'm feeling bad. So I've spoken enough. God willing, see you another time. Okay, take care. Bye bye.